I used to confuse the bind layer and link bones tools a lot. Linking a bone to a layer sounds a lot like binding a layer to a bone, doesn't it? Both are used in character rigging, but each tool belongs to a different rigging method. Link bones is used in the Flexi-Binding Method. Bind layer is used in the layer binding method. Let me show you what I mean. I've set up a project for each scenario. Let's say I want to animate a hand so it goes from having its fingers extended to making a horn sign. The hand in each example is identical, but the layer binding method requires each phalanx to be in a different layer, whereas the Flexi-Binding method works with a finger per layer. To set the layer binding example, I had to go into each phalanx layer, select the bind layer tool, and click the corresponding bone. When the bone is bound to the layer, you'll see it highlighted in red, so long as you have the bind layer tool selected. If you need to unbind the bone, click on the canvas. You don't have to reselect the bind layer tool each time you change layers. Once I'm done binding each layer to a bone, I can simply manipulate the bones after frame 0 to change the hand into the horn sign. But what if splitting your assets just isn't an option? Then using the Flexi-Binding method would be best. In this other project, things are almost ready to work, but if I manipulate the middle and ring fingers, you can see the whole hand distorting. This is because by default, MOHO will use Flexi-Binding and apply the bone strength to all vector layers inside the bone layer group. We need a way to tell MOHO that we want these 3 bones to affect only the ring finger. This is what the link bones tool is for. If I go to each layer and link all the bones to the respective finger, the animation will play out correctly. Note that pushing the link bones button is equivalent to clicking on bones, link bones to layer, and the shortcut is Ctrl-Shift-F. If you want to unlink the bones, select the layers and click on bone, reset all bone rigging. I don't do that to keep my links for now. You can see the animation is looking much better now. Both animations are slightly different. What tool is better depends on the requirements of your animation. However, layer binding and flexi binding are not the only rigging methods. There's also point binding. Layer binding is useful if you want more granular control and you can afford one asset per bone, but this may make you work more. Flexi binding is useful if your assets will only move in few ways, like bending an arm. Flexi binding allows you to have the whole arm in a single layer instead of having to divide the forearm and the upper arm. This makes flexi binding easier to work with, but you may have to adjust the animation with smart bone actions later on. Otherwise, the assets may bend in an undesired way. Point binding is useful when you can't or don't want to subdivide your vector assets. You can link a bone to only some points with the bind points tool. The example shown on screen is a single vector layer. Smart bone actions may be necessary here too. If you want a deeper deep dive into each rigging method, I highly recommend McCoy Buck's video series. He has a video for each method. I've put a link to each in the video description. I just wanted to make this video because I was very confused with the tools and wanted to show the difference. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support me directly, you can do so with the link in the video description.